Lynn Cullen goes live in 3 minutes. Lynn Cullen goes live in 2 minutes. Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Oh yeah. Hello. Hiya. Watha. How you doing? Lynn Cullen here. It's Thursday, July something or other. 9th. And it didn't print. Son of a bitch. Excuse me. I was printing out a number of interesting articles. I had found one in the Los Angeles Times and the other, I don't remember. And now I don't have them. It didn't print?
Would you like me to try and print?
No, screw it. Nothing works! So not in time for the newspapers, but obviously you do know that the South Carolina House did do the what would have been unthinkable just a few weeks ago, and we should see that god-awful flag come down pretty soon, like in a day or so, I guess. So now that we got some of the symbolism taken care of and the not that we do, there'll still be those flags all over the place. In some ways, it'll empower a lot of people it'll make them feel more of a rebel to fly that flag, right? Hey, if you come downtown today, there's lots of unusual people walking around. I saw a hot dog a person dressed as a hot dog, which was a bit of a shock because I was all prepared for people with fur and bushy tails, but a hot dog I didn't get. But there's a guy in a hot dog, and a number of people with tails. One solitary soul wandering off by himself. He had a very long bushy tail, which he was holding up as if he didn't want it dragging on the ground. And he was holding his head under his... I guess we're a very welcoming city. Because, I thought when I saw him alone, I thought, geez, I wouldn't know if I walk alone in a... like that, because you might be harassed or something. But no, he looked sad. He just looked like a sad soul with his head under his arm and holding his tail. And I thought, geez, very odd. I want to welcome the St. Louis Cardinals to town. Big series, guys. Big series. Anyway, do I look like I'm having trouble getting started? I'm not, really. I don't think. I have something I want to wing by you. This shows, again, how increasingly, I guess, obtuse I've become about what some people consider offensive. Okay, you want to hear my confusion? I know Celine here will be able to tell me, but I don't get this one at all. Get this from the New York Times today. It has to do with with an exhibition at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. Okay, and it centers around one painting. Which I guess the museum owns. It's one of its signature paintings. It's a Monet, and it is called La Japonaise, which I guess translates to the Japanese woman. And Monet, in painting this, actually painted his wife. She is the Japanese woman. She's not really, and she has blonde hair, and she's wearing a kimono. Okay? I just got it. Just by telling you that, I now understand it. Give me an effing break. Okay, here. So, the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston thought that it would be really great to sort of pull people in to seeing this glorious painting if they had an interactive element. So what they did is apparently they had a kimono made that it looks exactly like this extraordinary kimono that his wife wears in the painting. And I guess people were going to be able to put the kimono on and have pictures taken of themselves wearing it. Well, apparently, all hell broke loose. On Facebook, on social media, there were people carrying protest signs outside. One of the signs said, "Try on the kimono. Learn what it's like to be a racist imperialist." The museum, as so often happens these days, retreated immediately. It said the kimono would no longer be available to try on. Help me with this. Instead, it said visitors could now touch and engage with. Can you imagine this? You can touch and engage with the kimono, but you cannot put it on, because the minute you put it on, I guess you become a racist imperialist. What? The museum added that it would schedule additional talks by its educational staff on Wednesday nights to provide context, quote, as well as an opportunity to engage in culturally sensitive discourse. I read all of that. I literally, when I read it this morning, I didn't even comprehend. I thought, what the fuck is that about? It's a painting of an artist's wife in a kimono. Is the problem that she's not Japanese and he called it La Japonaise? Is that the problem? Is it that if you ain't Japanese, you shouldn't wear a kimono? Does it show any disrespect? I have to tell you, you can't do anything these days without a whole group getting pissed, offended, victimized. And what's even worse is that all the people who then are in the target of the pissed back off right away. Headline, Kimono Furor at the Museum of Fine Arts. They must think the painting what's imperialistic or racist about trying on a beautiful kimono? Huh? I'm asking. It would seem, if I get this at all, that their problem is that their problem's with Monet. That he couldn't find a real Japanese woman to pose for him. What? Celine, do you get it? Or do you agree this is really over the top?
I don't get it.
She doesn't get it either, so that's so over the top, it's ridiculous. Celine is my canary in a coal mine. I mean, if Celine here says, WTF, what the hell are they, what? And the museum backs down. How is that? The only thing it can be is that you don't call, they're upset about the painting, right? That he didn't use a real Japanese, she's not a Japanese, but that painting's part of their regular display. What would be a big deal about trying on a kimono? And how then, that seems to be what they were really pissed about. And then the museum backs down and say, okay, you can no longer try on the kimono, but you can touch it and engage with it. And in fact, we'll have we'll have camps where people can be deprogrammed or reprogrammed in a culturally sensitive discourse. You know what? It's things like this that are going to make me more and more and more inclined to push back. Even when I get it, I might start pushing back. Somebody sent me a letter about this heightened sensitivity and, this, Celine, I am not defaming your generation. It's not your fault that you had, and I know you're not like, but these parents that have protected their children from everything and have created children that think that the world is not supposed to in any way, make them uncomfortable. I can't find it. Damn it. And one of you sent me this thing the other day, and now I've lost it. God damn it. All right. I'm flummoxed. Okay. I just don't know whether to work up a big head of steam this soon in the program. I don't think I want to. So, do you see Tom Selleck? Tom Selleck, a handsome, aging, bad actor who is apparently one of the few Republicans. That's what he's always complaining about. I'm the only Republican in Hollywood, and it's gotten in the way of my career. I know they know I'm a Republican, and so they won't hire me. No, Tom, it's because you're not much of an actor, sir. You're lucky that you got the TV shows you did. Anyway, he has been charged. There's been a complaint filed against him by the municipal water district that I guess is adjacent to his palatial ranchero. And they say that he has been stealing water from them. Blatantly and brazenly. Here's what it says. On multiple occasions between 2013 and right up until just a few months ago, with incredible regularity, a large white truck would pull up to a hydrant in Thousand Oaks, California, and haul water and fill up with water, and then haul it back to his 60-acre estate. The water district that's bringing this charge spent, get this, nearly $22,000 just to hire, and there's an irony here, a private investigator to document this. Ironic because, as you know, in Magnum P.I., which was his big series, he played a private investigator. So, Thousand Oaks spent $22,000 on a private investigator to build a case against the phony private investigator, Tom Selleck. And here's what one of the people in the water district say. Our 630,000 customers are ripping out their lawns, drastically cutting back on the water they use. The water that we do have for them, that they have paid for, should remain within the district boundaries. So, as recently as March, it says, the water truck was spotted 4 days filling up at the same hydrant and then going directly to Selleck's estate. And there you have it, because his estate, by the way, has a lot of green in it. So he's stealing water from a neighboring public water district because he lives in a private kind of gated, very exclusive area where a lot of movie stars live called Hidden Valley. And they have private wells there. They don't do anything with the public. Well, maybe their wells seem to be running a bit dry. So now they've decided they'll steal the water from, Selleck, steals the water from the public wells. Everyone that lives near that fire hydrant says they'd see that truck all the time. Rick Kaiser, who lives down the street, told the Los Angeles Times it's always the same guy, same truck. Pull up around 6 a.m. Don't look like they're trying to be surreptitious about it. So, you know, California is in this really frightening drought. And it has been reported before that the wealthy in California are refusing to engage in conservation, a lot of them. They have their beautiful landscaped homes and estates, And so even if there's no water, and even if they are fined thousands of dollars for exceeding what should be the limit for a residential, consumer, they don't give a shit. They'll just pay the fines. So, big shock. Tom Selleck, now accused of stealing gallons and gallons of water from a thirsty public. It'll be interesting to see what happens. He and his, of course, advisors have not commented and apparently will not. And big surprise, he's a well-known, big Republican. God. Alrighty. I got this funny thing. I think it's funny. And now I can't figure out where this other thing is that I wanted that would dovetail into it. There it is. Okay. So one of you, Leon, has sent me a letter to the editor that appeared in the Tribune Review. And what's, I think, especially funny is he says to me, I read this in the Trib that I found on a train after the Pirates game last night. Okay, so what Leon is telling me is, first of all, I would never buy a Trib. The only reason I found it is because someone had discarded it and it was sitting there and I started reading. And look what I read. Here's why people don't buy the Trib, because here's the voice of a Tribune Review subscriber. Letter to the editor. I can't. Got a call. Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, you're talking about water conservation or energy. I was reading an article a while back. I was going to mention one other time that they were saying these energy jobs that are for like solar and windmills and all this stuff, it is less jobs than the oil industry. So when we do change to go to a different type of energy, we're going to screw the American worker one more time. Because the jobs aren't there when it comes to that. You take a windmill, it just sits out there and whoop, goes around and around. How much maintenance is done to any of those things?
I know.
Once you put that stuff in, it's good for years.
Okay, but
we have to do it, but we're going to.
I know, but we have to do it. So you got to find other jobs for people. I mean, it's like, coal miners ain't gonna be mining coal, and so we've got to move away from this. And you're right, there wouldn't be as many jobs. I mean, the jobs in solar are producing the panels, and then installation, but. Yeah, it's not as labor intensive, certainly, and wind, again, it's production and installation, and then that's it, and that's why we need to go that way. But you're right. You're right. The little guy is forever taking the hit.
Yeah. And I think right now, the way our economy is with the job situation, I think that's the best it's going to get. I really believe that we're living in good times right now. So if we go into another recession, this is the best we're going to get, because they're outsourcing the jobs that are paid well because they don't want to pay the labor or the skills or whatever. So we're at the best. So enjoy it, people. Enjoy it. That's what you voted for.
It's funny. It's true. I mean,
It is. It's true.
No, I think that's a good thing. It's sort of like when I see that in terms of how women, will sound totally different, but women and girls are forever picking apart their appearance. And if a woman at the age of 50, let's say, who looks back at a picture of herself at 25, and she looks at it and says, "Oh my God, I was beautiful." But at 25, if you asked her, "Are you beautiful?" she said, "Are you kidding? Look at my thighs. Look at my nose. Look at my look at my that." And I realize that every day, I can look in the mirror and wince, and I can say, "Hey, babe, I know now. You look fantastic today because it ain't going to get any better.
Well, that may be
right?
true.
It's true. I mean, come on. Jeez, love yourself while you can. Right. Enjoy the life we have while you can, because I used to say as a young person, and I don't say it anymore, it can't get any worse. I've lived long enough to know that invariably it does.
Yeah.
Okay, we're in agreement. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
See.
Bye. Okay, hang on. I got a bunch of emails here. PJ has written sarcastically, because he lives at the Hidden Valley Ranch. He says, when you can't get your salad dressing, you'll come to see Mr. Selleck's point of view. I don't think it's the same thing, PJ. Okay, and Roger on the kimono outrage. I understand the kimono outrage. Only Japanese women should wear them. Being a middle-aged white guy, I really get offended the few times I see someone who is not white, overweight, nor male wearing a golf shirt. Especially when they don't smoke cigars and aren't cramming a hot dog in their face while getting exercise riding a golf cart. Everybody's being sarcastic today. It's okay. But I guess that's it. Okay, so, the letter. I was going to read the letter to the editor at the Tribune. This has to do with Greece. Now, Greece is a heavy subject, and I have told you before, economics is not my strong suit. I'm not even sure how to pronounce it. Is it economics or economics? I don't know. You know, my mother got a degree in economics or economics. And I said, Mom, why did you major in something so hard? And why did you major in economics or economics? And she said, I really don't know. I think I just wanted to learn what it was. She didn't even know what it was. Northwestern. Phi Beta Kappa, too. She still doesn't know what it is. Anyway. Okay, so here's a letter to the editor. This is a Tribune Review reader writing to the Trib. Now, sit down, okay? The Greek debt crisis is a preview of what can happen here in a few years if we keep moving towards socialism and the welfare state. The case to justify the welfare state is that some people have too much money. So we need to use government force to make them share it with the rest of us. The problem with socialism is threefold. First, the money is redistributed by politicians who will use it to buy votes and therefore will not necessarily give it to the neediest. Second, the bureaucrats in charge of redistribution are not accountable for their mistakes and therefore wasteful and inefficient. Third, the welfare state discourages and punishes initiative and hard work while encouraging dependence and laziness. So eventually the industrious and creative stop producing to avoid more punishment. This is right out of Ayn Rand. Thus, wealth creation ceases as wealth destruction continues. Our nation is like a rich playboy squandering his inheritance without seeking income. That is why people are driving around in 1950 cars and living meager lives in socialist Cuba. Okay, I stopped dead in my tracks on that one. You fool! They're riding around in 1950s cars because of us. Because of our trade embargo. And talk about initiative, ingenuity, imagination. They have kept those cars going, God knows how. Jesus Christ. Okay, and here's his end. If we had not dabbled in redistribution since the 1930s, so this guy's against the New Deal. this guy is against Social Security, everything that FDR put in place. If we had not dabbled in redistribution since the 1930s, our nation today would be so rich. Where is this guy's head? Does he realize? What are you talking about? We dabbled in socialism in the 1930s because the rich had plundered our country's wealth, and we were people, there was like 25, 30% unemployment. The rich and the job creators, even some of the job creators were jumping out of buildings, remember? Oh my God. Okay, so if we had just let the Depression continue, we would be so rich that everyone would have unimaginable wealth and opportunity. The noble dream of socialism has turned into a nightmare of jealousy and dysfunction, and incredibly, so many are blind to the solution for our predicament. This brilliant screed was written by one Dave Majernik of Plum.
Let's have dinner, Dave.
Huh?
Let's have dinner, Dave.
Let's have dinner, Dave. You want to go out with him?
I want to talk to him.
Dave, Celine wants to have dinner with you. She wants to talk to you. I think she's nuts, but yeah. Gee. There it is. Now, this is not an outlier. This is somebody who is espousing the ideals of the Republican Party. It's amazing. What's with the Republicans in history? They don't know it. They don't understand it. I mean, with the flag, the Confederate flag thing, those are... I saw somebody actually said something that was so interesting. I mean, those are Republicans that are now holding that flag up and being pissed off that it's being taken away from them. And someone pointed out that that flag was representative of the feelings and the tradition that Abraham Lincoln's assassin held. That flag represented what that assassin felt and why he murdered the first Republican president. Okay, so just to get to Greece, because I read this. It is written by a guy named Eduardo Porto, and he seems to know about economics. So this is an opinion piece that was printed in the business section of the New York Times, and he says this. A history lesson. Because his whole idea is that the Germans have forgotten history. And they are the main reason why this Greece thing has gone so wrong. He reminds us of some history. February 27th, 1953. Turns out that on that day, a representative of Germany signed some kind of a agreement with all of its foreign creditors, in which the foreign creditors cut Germany's debt by over half. They said, All right, I know. You dragged the world into war and conflagration. You have made so much goddamn trouble. We are trying to get your country up and running again, which is amazing. We're trying to build them back up. And we understood, not just us, but the French and the English and everybody else understood that they weren't going to get back up if they were saddled with this debt. So they said, we will forgive half of it and let's then move on. Cut to today. Greece. Owing a lot of people. Germany, now the most powerful, biggest, baddest country in Europe, is saying to the Greeks, F you. You got to starve on the streets. We aren't going to bail you out. So the main creditor that is demanding that Greece be made to pay, be made to be punished for their profligacy, are themselves the beneficiaries not all that long ago from a more generous and lenient group of creditors that helped, by doing what they did, spur Germany's rise from the ashes. Eduardo Porto says, beyond serving as a reminder of German hypocrisy, this history offers a more important lesson. And that is that what's going on in Greece right now has happened before with nations. These sorts of things have happened in our history, and they have been dealt with successfully. The 20th century offers a roadmap of what not to do and what to do in these debt crises in nations. And the Germans, they're the hardliners here. Angela Merkel. They who themselves benefited unbelievably, so they rose to where they are now. And they forget that. It's like all these Republicans who maybe have a nice house in the suburbs who say, I did it myself, who never acknowledge the help they were given by government. Oh my God, yeah, by government. A lot of times. Mm-hmm. So anyone who knows history can look and see what works. The Europeans are having trouble remembering their history. Major debt, and this kind of problem like Greece has, is only solved after you deeply write down the debt's face value. The longer it takes to reach that decision, to get there, the bigger the write-down will have to be. So all of this hemming and hawing and waiting for Greece is in no position to do much of anything. And it's not that they're blameless. But what is with Germany? Germany doesn't get it. They haven't learned. They're so traumatized by their own history, they don't see how they themselves could never have made it out without the generous spirit of their conquerors. And he says nobody should understand this better than the Germans. It's not just that they benefited from the deal in 1953 after they dragged the world into World War II, but 20 years earlier, the same damn Germans defaulted on its debts from World War I. And you know the mess they made after World War I brought Hitler to power, which gave us World War II. And you know, this thing now that Germany is the big bad cop in Europe strikes me as not only ironic, but to my mind, slightly unpalatable. And of course, they'll think it's just because of German industriousness. No! It's because of American generosity, British generosity. My God. Okay. That was it. Ray writes. He's writing about the new culture of the offended. William Burroughs was correct about a number of things. And one of them was that control is one of the driving forces in our lives. Excuse me. Control is one of the driving forces. Well, isn't that crazy that it is? Because we have none. I didn't read Burroughs. Control is one of the, what, we need control? We want to have a sense we have control? We have no control! Anyone who thinks they do is whistling past the graveyard. Okay, going on to Ray. I think that the general public has been rendered powerless for so long. Rendered powerless by the rich and powerful, by the political machinery, by the organized media conglomerates, that this has created a ballooning of suppressed rage. But the need for some control of our surroundings will not be suppressed forever. This new generation has learned that they can control the powerful institutions and oligarchy only by playing the victim and rallying public opinion around contrived offenses and injuries of psyches. I don't really blame them, but it does make me crazy. My only fear is that this control is doomed to ultimate failure. Of course it is, by spiraling into absurdity, as it is. At some point, one group will claim injury because another group was offended by the first group. And then a real offense and injury will be ignored and once again control taken away. What we need is a real revolution, not an endless series of immature hissy fits. Yes! Yes. All right. Oh. PJ is sending me an article which says Germany deserved debt relief and Greece does not. Well, yeah, okay. I'll read it later, but there is some disdain by the Aryans to the north, I want to point out, of the dark, oily Mediterraneans of the south of Europe. And if you think that's not part of what's playing out here, I assure you it is. Margie says, the Greeks are greedy, in my opinion. Well, I'll tell you what they are. No, they've been irresponsible. They have allowed their government to become totally corrupt. They allowed a culture in which they felt, and this is where you might be saying greedy, that they could have everything and not pay for it. They never paid their taxes. I mean, it was a thing. Anyone who paid their taxes was an idiot. Hey, that's where the Tea Party wants us to go. They starved their government. And their government kept, I don't know, it's a mess there. There is no doubt it's a mess there. It will not help Europe to let the Greek... I'll tell you one thing the Greeks are doing. You know, all those desperate souls, those millions, those thousands that are leaving their homes in migration of people that we have never seen the like of. You aware of that, what we're seeing now? This was prophesized about global warming and other things and social and political and all this kind of upheaval, that it was going to create situations where people were going to end up being emigres. They were going to pack up what they could and go anywhere and risk their lives because they had no life where they were. Those two Mediterranean countries, those people who take siestas and don't pay their taxes and have corrupt governments and don't have the work ethic of the Germans. They're the ones who are rescuing these poor people from their leaky boats and rafts and taking them in. Greece, that can't even feed its own people, has been taking these people in. I'm for the Greeks just because they got more heart. They might need some help with their finances and that kind of stuff. But the Germans, I'm sorry, guys. Maybe it's just because I'm a Jew. But the Germans leave me cold. Joe Ellen writes, don't forget another piece of the puzzle. Rich Greeks don't pay taxes. Yeah, I know. Okay, I'm sorry. I should have seen that before I did my thing. And, okay, and you guys are sending me all these wonderful articles, but I can't obviously read them while I'm doing the show. Ray also writes back in regard to socialism. You know that every single healthy family is based on socialism. Think about that. I mean, the first communal unit is the family, right? Okay, sorry, Ray, I'm interrupting your letter to take a call. Hello? Hello,
Lynn?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sam Brownback from Kansas tried to pull Ayn Rand maneuvers and bankrupted the state. There's no social net for the people of Kansas, and it was bankrupt. I mean,
he destroyed their schools.
And he got reelected.
Yeah, but he's now trying to raise taxes, isn't he? I mean, when these Republicans get into power, he was a crazed senator. Right. Then he gets elected governor of the state, so now he has executive power, and he put all that Ayn Rand and Tea Party crap into...
Took all the social nets away and said, that's it, we don't need this, just pulled in Ayn Rand, and that's what happened.
Yep.
And now he's not letting now he's trying to fight the gay system. He don't want the gays.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, now he's fighting that.
I mean, he's a nutball.
No, he's a good Republican.
He's a good Republican. He's top notch. He's.
Oh.
I mean, so what? I don't know what this country. We got about 40% of the country that's whacked. Okay, they're just completely whacked. I don't know what the hell is wrong with them, but they're out of their GD minds. That's I don't know. Sometimes
I don't know either.
We're just going to punish Greece. We'd love to punish people. Love to punish the poor.
That's right.
Granted, the Greeks did, like the Italians, they corrupted their government and didn't pay their taxes, and everybody was living a party life. And that's not good either. But you don't want just I just can't stand to punish the poor. That's what we seem to want to do in this country. Republicans,
We do.
That's their main
We
goal.
do. They want to punish the poor because they think they're poor because they're lazy.
Exactly. So
And
it's
just mind-boggling.
I got mine. You know, we always say, you know, what's the expression we always say?
I got mine. You get what?
Yeah,
you go get yours.
So
I don't
hooray
know.
for me and screw you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I got
All
my
right.
piece of pie and screw
Yeah,
you.
right. Unbelievable.
That's all I have to say.
Okay,
I'm just,
well.
it sickens me.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you.
Bye. Back to Ray's letter. You know that every single healthy family is based on socialism. There is no way that a normal parent would let the biggest and strongest child grab more food from the table while the youngest goes hungry. Johnny would have to put some of the meatloaf back so Susie can get a plate. If a family ran itself like our society, the parents would go to jail. The problem is our country says we are one people. Well, I don't think anyone says that anymore, do they? But our fear and anger makes us liars again. Let me pick up on what the caller said about punishing poor people. There's an article in the Post-Gazette today about a bunch of little people who don't matter, getting eviction notices. Hundreds of them, maybe. These are two big apartment buildings. You know those apartment buildings, try to place it on Penn Avenue between Negley and Euclid. There are two large buildings called Penn Plaza Apartments in East Liberty. They're very nice. I mean, there's green space around them and this and that. There are 312 units. 41, I guess, are Section 8 properties. And every person who lives in one of those units received an eviction order. They got 90 days. Get out. The building manager said she doesn't really know what's going on. She doesn't know if the property's being sold or renovated. She just got her orders from the guys who own it. Some wonderful folks called LG Retail Advisors. And she says this: to my knowledge, it's not being torn down. All I was told was to give people 90 days notice. Can you imagine? And when the reporter from the Post-Gazette kept saying, well, what's happening? And she couldn't answer, so she told him, you'll have to call my bosses. So when they called the owners, they wouldn't talk. You know who talked? The terrified tenants. Here's one. Donald Thomas, a tenant since 2003. He said the maintenance people have been saying that, warning that something was up. And he says the place has been abuzz with speculation and now panic. There are a lot of senior citizens living in those buildings. There are disabled people in those buildings. There's a picture of one, Jerry Murray, 57 years old. He's been there 10 years. He's in a wheelchair. He says, I don't know where the heck I can go. He said, I have to find an accessible Section 8 unit, and I want to stay in my neighborhood in East Liberty. And in all the buildings here now, there's these long waiting lists. So you go to, nobody knows what, These goddamn speculators, these rich, they're throwing all of these people out. This is what's going on in East Liberty, by the way. The mayor and everybody else can go nuts lauding this great growth that's going on. And I just want to point out that there are thousands of people who have lived in East Liberty forever, and they are being evicted. They don't fit into the new East Liberty. Not the right people. So there's something called Action United, and that is an advocacy organization for people who don't matter. And one of their people says this: East Liberty is being remade into a vision that does not include many of the people who currently live here. It's a mass relocation of people of color. Make no mistake. That's what's happening. We've seen it happen before. They took half the Hill District, and the blacks had to scatter. They scattered a lot of them to East Liberty. Now they're taking East Liberty. They're scattering. There's another big article in the paper about how Walnut Development now has its eyes on Larimer, which is next to East Liberty. And they're going to go in there. Where the hell are people supposed to live? In homeless shelters? Apparently, the Urban Redevelopment Authority and a community planning team from East Liberty has been trying to get answers from the jerks who own these two buildings, and even they can't get a call back. Here's what they speculate. They speculate that since all of this development is going on in East Liberty, that these guys who own these buildings are thinking we'll make more money in commercial development as opposed to rental development and residential development. And unfortunately, what East Liberty needs now is affordable residence. They also point out that there's a lot of green space and even a few trees in their apartments. And if these guys are bent on making even more money, what they're going to do is probably level those buildings and build like Walnut Capital always does, right up to the sidewalk. So you can't even see the sun anymore. There's just this tunnel of buildings. And as for the people, well, fuck them. You know, people in wheelchairs and elderly people are not going to spur the revolution. They're just going to continue to be fucked with. I'm sorry, I know I swear a lot and I can't help it, but man, how do you... This is disgusting. Are you looking at that now, Celine? She's got a map up. Yeah. Unbelievable. Okay. By the way, I'm going to hang on to this. I wish I could... What can we do? So I was talking before about all these poor people, this migration of desperate people out of Syria, out of Morocco, out of lots of countries in Africa and in Asia. And this migration of desperate human beings. And right here, in my neighborhood, it's happening. Right here. And strangely, many of the people, they got dark skin too. We're despicable. Caller, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Lynn. How are you doing today? I just was listening to your bit of a rant, which I agree about the city and them forcing out people and this and that, all for the sake of development and bringing in the wealthy to occupy these areas because they can get more money out of them.
Right.
But I just like, because you started this rant and this and that, and I wanted to point out, if you would please mention, which political party that espouses itself to be the one who cares for the poor and the disenfranchised, and has been running this city and East Liberty for a millennium. Which political party is that?
That would be the Democrats.
Right.
Listen.
So the Tea Party has nothing to do with this. The Republicans have nothing to do with it.
No. Who has to do with it is, and we have said this, our governments are essentially do the bidding of the oligarchs who run everything now.
Correct. It's money. What's the whole thing? The money.
Money.
Power.
Money, power. Money, power.
Right. So that's the only thing that sort of gets me a wee bit angry is if those who equate the money with strictly, that's the Republicans.
No,
the rich
you're right.
To screw the poor.
No.
This is Democrats running the city, running this area, who then espouse that, we are the one who's going to take care of you. We care for the poor. And look what's happening.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a fair point. I will say Democrats tend to care more for the poor than Republicans.
They do.
No, but they do. They support programs to help the dispossessed. They'll get them. I don't know.
They'll find the buses to leave East Liberty.
Yes, right. They'll get them. Oh, dear
God. After that,
God.
they're on their own because once they're out of the city, it doesn't matter anymore.
Well, I'll tell you, they're all going. The eastern suburbs are going to become.
They're just going to move on
the
to
new ghetto.
And Monroeville area.
Hey,
keep pushing them along.
Yeah, that's exactly their.
And then all those people are going to say, "What are we doing with all these people
I know,
and
maybe then they'll run back. That's what's funny. The poor African Americans will end up stuck, marooned out in Plum because there's no public transportation to get them to jobs in the city, and all those rich people in Plum who ran out of the city to get away from these people will move back into East Liberty, perhaps.
What are they doing now? They're building up all these expensive condominiums. My office is in a strip district. That's all they're building, to bring these...
I know.
To keep all those kids graduating from Pitt and CMU from leaving.
I hear you.
I
hear you.
That's why they're built.
I got to tell you, God, we're despicable. All right.
Well, what can we do?
Yeah, what can you do?
About it, but I really don't know. There's really no workable solution unless you or I win, the state lottery for $200 trillion, and then
exactly.
Then we'll have influence.
Yes, exactly.
That's the only way.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call.
Day.
Okay, bye. Oh, this is interesting. So I have been sent a piece from 1994. And for some reason, I can't get it to move. I can't get it. I can't see it, but it's just so I have the headline. Tourism enriches an island resort. but Hilton Head blacks feel left out. Okay, so that was a story of them being... when the massacre happened in Charleston 3 weeks ago, we saw a map, I did, that showed how blacks in Charleston, as Charleston's become a trendy place. It used to be sort of a sleepy little place. Now it's trendy as hell, great restaurants, rich people all over, renovating all those old houses. And it shows how, where that church was, where the AME church, where the massacre happened, that just 20 years ago, that church was in a overwhelmingly black neighborhood. That church now is sitting in a white neighborhood. And the blacks in Charleston, as it's had its renaissance, have been pushed out. How many times are we going to see this story? I guess we'll just continue to see it. And when the mayor was here, I did ask him, I said, what is going to happen to all those people? And I must say, I don't think he answered that question. He started murmuring about Section 8 housing being part of a lot of the development they're putting up. There'll be mixed use, they'll have people paying good money to live in these places, and then they'll have a few Section 8 units in there for some of the folks. When East Liberty, in just the last few years, I've watched them implode a huge, huge skyscraper where Target now stands, where all these people used to live. Ha! Little did we know, that was just the beginning. Okay, I'm out of here. Thank you. I'll be back tomorrow with another head of steam, I suppose. Have a good day.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.